Welcome to another ActivePort video series, and today I'd like to take you through the addition of our network function virtualization feature as part of our ActivePort OS software solution, which is targeted for SD-WAN. When you click on the NFV tab, it opens up the capabilities of now working with VMs or containers as part of our solution. You first have to install an agent, and I already have that installed to do this demonstration. For existing customers that already have our SD-WAN solution, the NFV tab will just appear. The agent will not be enabled. You just go through and you activate that agent, and it will download, and it becomes the basis of how we manage NFV. But to use the solution, you first need to download an image from some sort of external source. In this case, I'm using an S3 bucket. So we can come in here and download images from my AWS S3 bucket. They're stored externally, so ActivePort doesn't store these images within our product ourselves, and that's to ensure that we don't breach any specific vendor licensing rules or legal issues. So the customer owns their images and are obviously clearly licensed to be using them, and they would have them external, and we can download those images into the universal CPE. Once you've done that, and in this case I've got two images down here. I have a MikroTik CHR, which I'll demonstrate from, and an iOS image that we can install on. So what images are down there? These are ISO, so they're installable images. And to get that running, I simply click on Guest. I want to add a new VNF onto the system. The templates give you some base configuration depending on what you want to do in terms of memory, virtual CPU, etc. In our case, I want to use an installer capability. The disk is for those vendors that actually send you a QCOW file, which is a semi-pre-installed. In this case, because we've got ISOs, we want to mount the ISO file and install it. I want to use a MikroTik. I'll give it a name. Originally, I'll give it MikroTik, pretty much leave the memory, CPU as it is, leave the interface types as that for this demo, that's fine. Now, these are the two important parts. What this pass-through interface gives you is really the LAN, this is the LAN interface of this firewall, and then the bridged interface, which is really the host chain interface, is connecting it into the SD-WAN software. So I mentioned those at the start. And when you're ready and you've got your particular profile set up, you just go deploy. So what we do here is we're going to be mounting the ISO, which we've now done. It'll start its install process, and we come into a typical MikroTik install. I want to do all. I'll install. I don't really care about the old config, and just go yes. And so now it'll actually start creating a QCOW file in this particular instance, install its software modules. It's now stored, asked to be rebooted. I can reboot it. It will now reboot that new image, and hopefully we'll just go straight into a MikroTik front end, and we can probably log in as admin. There we go. What you'll see here is that we've got that VM running. We can do all the typical things that you can do with the VM. You can shut it down, we can reboot it. You can also go in and have a look at how it's being configured in terms of what's running on it, what interfaces are being configured, which we did, what disks are being configured, what the configuration is doing. In this case, we're using libvirt and KVM to spin this up on our universal CPE, and so this is the configuration for that. And I can go back and connect as a console, which I did previously. And if I connect into that, it'll take us back to where we were. Probably better off to quit and get out of that. Put it back to the login prompt and close. And that's network function virtualization. And so in that short time, we've spun up a managed firewall, put it onto the universal CPE, and through ActivePort, we can configure and manage that particular firewall. Thanks very much.